Welcome back to another episode of the Chris and DJ Show. I am your host, Chris Shanafelt. He's DJ Moore, former Chicago Bears defensive back. And if you guys want to get involved with the show, you can go ahead and tweet us any questions, comments on Twitter. I'm at Chris Shanafelt. The Twitter handles will show up here in just a second. He's at DJ Moore 30, and of course on Facebook Live, you guys could comment on the show stream. And it'll pop up here on the screen, and we'll get your comments live on the air there as well. If you have any questions for DJ Moore or just any sports comments, thoughts on today's games, a very crazy NFL weekend, and it ended with a very, very head-shaking play, especially if you're a defensive back like DJ Moore over here.
It don't matter. It don't matter who you are. Yeah. It was just like, oh no.
So the Minnesota Vikings, we'll start off right there, DJ. Hope your week went well, and good to see you again, my friend. But let's start off with that divisional round playoff game played in Minnesota. Just wrapped up about an hour ago. The New Orleans Saints, it looked like they had it, but the Minnesota Vikings, they rallied. They played to the very last second, which is what they had to do. And Case Keenum connects with Stephon Diggs. No timeouts left as time expires. 61-yard touchdown. Saints rookie defensive back Marcus Williams completely whiffs on a tackle. And this is a young rookie that's been making big plays all season long. Had a really big interception early in this game. But when it mattered the most, he did not make the big play that was needed. He whiffs on a tackle. Stephon Diggs takes it 61 yards for the score as time runs out. What was your reaction when you seen that play?
Well, and I'm sitting there and I haven't watched the whole game, and I finally kind of turned it on and I'm looking at it and I see the ball go in the air and I'm like, okay, he's going to just tackle him. Time is going to run out. But then you see him and then you see it like, well, what is going on? And it seems, and I'm sure there's going to be some stuff out now about like what he was thinking, but it didn't. He was just unsure, like, did he have the ball? Did he not? Did I want to hurt him? Because if he would have hit his legs, oh, no, Stephon Diggs was going to be leaving on the stretcher. Like, literally, he was going to flip. It seemed like he just wasn't sure he wanted to. You know what? I don't know, man. He's going to have to live with that one, man, for a little while. The only thing I can kind of equate that to in my personal life anyway, when I was in middle school, we were down by 3 points. I get the ball. I'm the only 3-point shooter, and I go in to shoot a layup. Oh, they hated me. You know what I mean? Like, that feeling like, oh, they going to hate you for a long time. But it was just puzzling to watch it. But I think, to win a Super Bowl, to get to the Super Bowl, you need a little bit of luck. And that was a whole lot of luck.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Wow.
No doubt about it. The Vikings actually, they had an early lead in this one, leading 17-0. Everybody thought the game was over. But, with this Saints team, they rallied. They were able to come back, make it a game, and it looked like the game was theirs. But until the very end, Stephon Diggs making an incredible catch. It was a great catch, and then the play after the catch is what mattered the most, taking it for the touchdown. Now we have Case Keenum. The quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that are going to be playing in these conference championship games, it's very interesting. You got Case Keenum, Blake Bortles, Tom Brady, and Nick Foles. That's quite the quarterback list. We actually have a comment here from David Cromwell. He says, could the fact 3 average quarterbacks are playing in conference championships, could that be foreshadowing the end of the most quarterback-driven era in NFL history? I don't think so. I still think that's the most important position in the game. But I do think it does shift more of a focus to how important playing defense is. And, the defense side of the ball, that's something you see very common with these 4 teams is, with New England, they started off very slow. But now coming towards the end of the season, they've been able to step it up big time defensively. So I think a lot, and maybe I'm wrong, but this kind of it seems like Seattle kind of made us shift our attention to defense. Back when they had that dominant defense and they just pummeled the Denver Broncos, it was a defense we haven't seen that kind of defense in a very long time. And now we're starting to see teams pay more attention to the defensive side of the ball. And, it's going to be interesting to see how these, some would say average quarterbacks and how they fare next week in these championship games. And we've seen Case Keenum make that big play there at the very end for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been in the league, 3, 4, 5 years, and this was his first home playoff game. And, he was, we talk about the experience and how important that is, DJ. He even towards the end of the game, after the game in the interview, he still didn't know what to say. And I think I just seen Drew Brees talk. He's still puzzled about what happened in tonight's game.
Well, I mean, what do you say? You know what I mean? Like, I threw the ball up. I seen that it was in bounds. I seen that the defensive player had a play on it. If they tackle him, the game is over. And all of a sudden he didn't. You can tell from his reaction on the field, he was just like, well, you know what I mean? It's like meant to be. But when you was talking about defenses, I mean, it's when you have an inexperienced quarterback or your team, falls into that, my quarterback got injury category, like the Eagles, you rely on defense is normally what carry you through the playoffs. Now, on the other hand, I think with the Patriots, they're more offensive driven, but during the playoffs, they normally step up and play, better defense. So it's and especially with the Vikings game, it was kind of a tale of two halves. Also, it's kind of did whatever they wanted to do, and then like any good team, the Saints came out and adjusted and made some things happen. But at the end of the day, on defense, you got to make a stop. And you seen the Saints didn't make the stop, the Eagles did make the stop. The Jaguars make the stop. You know what I mean? So you either made it or you didn't. Now the Titans in the Pats game went as predicted. It wasn't, it wasn't close there. You can tell there was just obviously, a mismatch in that situation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now there's talk the Tennessee Titans could be extending Mike Mularkey, their head coach, there in Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee fans are very happy about that, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, this finish sort of this Minnesota Vikings and New Orleans Saints though game. I mean, I don't know if I've really seen anything quite like this in a playoff game with literally the time running out. I mean, that clock hit 0 as Diggs hit the end zone, and you see players celebrating and rightfully so, and then the New Orleans Saints are already all the way back in the locker room. Little do they know there still needs to be an extra point or another snap that has to be played.
Yeah, that makes no sense. That's just sick. It's just like if we don't need the extra point, like
right.
The game to be over, like to lose in a devastating fashion like that and try to. And I didn't even. Did they get them to come back out there and kick it or something? But,
oh no! So the Vikings they just did one snap. They need the ball, and but I mean just some random Saints players were running back out. I mean the punter was on the defensive line.
Yeah, when you say it, just sounds it sounds really funny, but in situations.
Oh yeah.
You gotta feel terrible, and you knew that you was. I mean, you was already. I mean, the game was in the bag. You see the ball in the air, just tackle the guy. In the time, you just don't have enough time to run down here, get the field goal. And this one is over with. I mean, I think it makes you question everybody. Okay, well, as a defensive coach, should I have blitzed a little bit, get a little more pressure on him, not give him enough time, or should I did something different? But like I said, for the young player who, I mean, that defense has played really good. Those young rookies on that defense has played really good. He's really good safety, and he's going to be, really good in the years to come. But man, that's a hard one to stomach, man.
Have you ever been a part of anything like that though, DJ, where a younger player, maybe he's a rookie, a first, 1-2 years under his belt, and he makes a big mistake that costs you guys a game, maybe not necessarily a playoff game, but costs you a game, and what's said in the locker room? How quickly does a veteran, a leader in that locker room, have to come up to him and kind of? It's not going to happen, but try and clear his head out and make him forget that play and move on to next season
Well,
and not let this one play define his career.
I think at the time, man, now everybody's gonna come up to him. The coaches are gonna come up to him because they understand like what he's going through emotionally. Like, well, I know this is kind of tearing you apart. Now, veteran players will probably come up to him and say, "Hey, man, that'll be all right. I mean, you're young. You'll get another chance." Even though that may not be the case, but these are the things the veteran players are probably gonna come up and say to him. Now, as a player, are you listening to any of that? Horrible. I mean, just you can't. Literally, all I need to do is grab him. I could have even caught him out of the air if I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like it's just hard to stomach it, man. And you gotta feel bad for him. I mean, you just really, really do. On that stage with everybody watching, and nowadays with social media, I'm sure he has a timeline full of junk right now.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. Throw away the cell phone, man. You got to throw the cell phone away right away.
But you know what? In due time, he'll be back at home. They'll be out having a good time partying or something. It'll take him a couple. Well, everybody's a little bit different, but he'll be all right.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's been a lot of talk, and Big Ben Roethlisberger was asked, do you plan on returning next season? Because there's been a lot of talk about him potentially retiring. He says, yes, he does indeed plan on returning. But what about Drew Brees? I mean, it's not, this hasn't really been much of a topic, but he turns 30. Tomorrow's his birthday, so go figure. I mean, that has to be a great birthday present, losing a game in that fashion. But he turns 39 tomorrow, and I mean, he's still playing the way, we know Drew Brees to play. 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this season, 3 more touchdowns, 2 interceptions today, 4,300 yards. I mean, he's still, it looks like he still has plenty left in the tank, but he's there in age for, all the conversation there is about Tom Brady and how well he's been able to play despite his age. How about Drew or not? But and especially the career that he's had, especially when people were thinking he had a career-ending injury with his shoulder back in his San Diego days. And to have this type of career, and could this be the end of Drew Brees?
No, I don't think so. I think actually this is probably like his new beginning. When you find, we got the rookie receiver Thomas from Ohio State, who was like his new Marcus Colston. You got his new Darren Sproles and the rookie running back. So he has pieces around him. You have a head coach who is top notch, and when you get players to fit into that system, on offense they're gonna do fine. On defense, they got young players returning who you would think your biggest jump is from year 1 to year 2. Now they may not play as well as they did this year, but they're going to be, a team to be reckoned with. So I can see this team back in this situation, this same situation this year, playing against whoever it is, with the way the NFL go, you never know who that is. But I could see the Saints back in this situation. And with the way that they protect the quarterback, I mean, you can't hit him, you can't touch him, you can't breathe on him. Man, he can play well until he's about 55, man. Take a couple adrenaline pills, take some 5-hour energy, man. He'll be good, man.
No doubt about it. And you mentioned the pieces he has surrounding him, and just in years past, I mean, I don't know if he's ever played. And the year they won the Super Bowl, they had a pretty good defense. I don't know if this defense they have right now, especially this young secondary, despite Marcus Williams' whiff tackle earlier today. I mean, they have a lot of really solid pieces there on both sides of the ball, and I agree with you. I think Drew Brees returns next year, and he probably still has a few more years left under his belt. But I just thought that was an interesting question. I mean, there are times where we see guys hang up the cleats out of the blue, and if Drew Brees does decide to do that, I think it'll catch many by surprise. Let's move on and talk about the early game that was played today, DJ, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who upset the Pittsburgh Steelers in a high-scoring.
I said you're going to see Jacksonville in the Super Bowl. Did I not say that?
You did.
Did I not say that?
Who would have thought they were going to – and, again, this isn't the Steelers' defense of old, but who would have thought they were going to be able to put up 45 points in Pittsburgh?
Well, they did it. But, this is not the first time that they've done it. I mean, what people do is they fantasize sometimes. They fantasize about matchups they want to see, and they forget to realize that you're probably not going to see that matchup because this team is probably better than this other team. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the matchup that they had with the Steelers, they were just a better team than the Steelers were, just flat out. You've seen that in the regular season, and you've seen that again in the playoffs. I mean, they literally came out and dominated them, but they have the pieces on both sides of the ball. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, they 10-0 when Bortles doesn't turn the ball over. He didn't turn the ball over, and they won. He can throw the ball. He can run. He got a running back that had over 100 yards with 3 touchdowns.
He's a new beast mode right there.
Listen, I said whichever running back has a bigger game, but they're going to win the game. You can roll this tape back, man. I did this. You know what I mean? But the Jacksonville was a better team, but Pittsburgh was overlooking everything.
Yeah.
Overlooking everything. Oh, we're going to play the Patriots. We're going to beat the Patriots. Well, you have to beat them next year.
Yeah, right.
Because this year you ain't going to play it.
Well, Jaguars, the official Jaguars Twitter account, they had a pretty funny tweet. I don't know if you've seen it or not, DJ. They said they highlighted, I think it was Mike Mitchell, who said that he's really looking forward to playing.
And I play with Mike in Carolina. He's a talker, boy.
It was him who said he's looking forward to playing New England in the AFC Championship game. And the Jaguars official Twitter account, they quoted that tweet and said, you can play him on PlayStation because it ain't happening next week. It'll be Jacksonville taking on New England. And
and one thing I think you see is it's to me, because a lot of times with his fans and the media, they'll put it on Mike Mitchell, but really, to me, it lies on the coach, because a lot of coaches don't want you to talk like that. But early in the year, Mike Tomlin was like, yeah, we're going to play them twice. Like, oh, yeah, we already know we're going to be there. So he puts it in their minds that, hey, listen, we just have to go through the motion. We got to be there. We're going to already be there. And it seemed like everybody was just looking straight past the Jack, even though they came to your home field in the regular season and beat up on you pretty bad. So in that instance, the players kind of wore their, coach's emotion on their sleeve and were talking about it during the week. And once you do that, you go out and play a game where another team is like, man, they already think they done beat us. I mean, you don't need to give me extra motivation when I've already beat up on you before. That's ridiculous.
You got that right. And, again, week 5, the Jaguars defeated Pittsburgh 30-9, 5 interceptions out of Big Ben. And that one, five touchdowns for Big Ben today, but it was not enough to get the job done. That Jacksonville defense, again, a lot of points today, but they did what they had to do in order to close this one. Honestly, the scoreboard is a lot closer than what the game really was. Jacksonville just flat out dominated this game, and this is going to be a team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with for years and years to come with that defense and the young special playmakers they have, such as Jalen Ramsey. They got A.J. Bouye, the cornerback from Houston. A lot of playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Blake Bortles, like you said, when he's not turning the football over, when he's playing that Trent Dilfer type of football where just, don't turn the football over and the defense will carry you, Jacksonville is very good. And if they could continue to do that, if Blake Bortles could continue to not turn the ball over, New England might have a real opponent next week.
And for me going into, the game next week, I think, and I'm picking Jacksonville to go all the way to the Super Bowl, but they have the components for it. I can rush you with 4. I can play man-to-man on any of your players that you have, and if you're going to beat New England, we've seen it. Pass rush, man-to-man up in your face. If you're off, you play in the zone, he's going to pick you apart. But Jacksonville has the formula for that. And then on top of that, I think that run game if New England fits. Now, during the season, they struggle. Now, in the playoffs, they kind of pick it up a little bit. But all in all, your defense is who your defense is, and they're not, to me, not a good defense. And I think that Jacksonville, man, is going to surprise a lot of people and go all the way, baby. Yeah.
What You got any buddies on Jacksonville? I mean, why, or are you just like the story?
Well, I just think they are. I mean, what people don't realize is this is not just from this past year. The coach reform, Gus Bradley was really building that team. They was getting a lot of people from trying to fuse a new mentality, and they kept getting guys and kept getting guys, and eventually then they drafted Ramsey. They get another free agent. They're kind of really veteran guys that kind of molded in. I think Calais Campbell kind of put everything together, and now it's like, man, this is a team to be reckoned with. It was years. I mean, when Bortles made the Pro Bowl, he was literally, they was getting beat up all the time on defense. They'll be getting blew out, and then he'll just be throwing the ball around the yard. And now this is a team. Last year, I think what were they, like 3-13 maybe, or something?
They were down.
You know what I mean? So I mean, they've had the talent. It's just that they had to find somebody to put it together. And you got to give what is it, Marrone, right?
Yep, Doug Marrone.
Who left the Bills all of a sudden out of nowhere, and then said, I'm going to come over here and be the head assistant, and then you get the job and you make something like this happen. I mean, it's truly impressive, and they have the pieces, man. I just think their matchup with New England, they match up with New England better than anybody, I think, left in the playoffs with that defense and with how they can line up on you, man-to-man press coverage across the board.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, just this game that just wrapped up, the Vikings and Saints. That's a couple of more very very good defenses, including the Minnesota Vikings, who could also be in that conversation for top defense in the league. But Jacksonville, they stomp the Pittsburgh Steelers 45-42. Again, Blake Bortles just playing conservative. That's all they need him to do, and Jacksonville was able to get the job done. Leonard Fournette. Over 100 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Again, the new beast mode, I think, in the NFL, Leonard Fournette, and it's gonna be a heck of a game next week in New England. Let's move on and talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
I think both you and I, DJ, picked Atlanta to win this one, and Nick Foles and the Eagles were able to do just enough to get the home victory.
Just enough.
And I mean, if you're a player on the Atlanta defense, I mean, you can't be even more disappointed. I mean, you can't. You allow 15 points, and your offense with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, that powered offense. Again, a great duo in the backfield with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. You guys can't score more than 15 points in a playoff game.
Well, what I would say is all about certain situations. Before the half, letting Alshon Jeffries run that deep out route, get his feet in bounds, and then them kick a field goal. Like, that literally is a difference in the game, because at the end, well, I wouldn't have to score. I would just probably be kicking a field goal, a different situation. In the second half, Nick Foles, it seemed like he was, even though they wasn't putting the ball in the end zone, they were controlling the game. They would run a lot of those little bunch routes, and Dan Quinn, I'm assuming he's a defensive coordinator, he's a defensive guy. It's like, man, you're not going to switch it up. We seen this last year in the Super Bowl. It's like, you'll play a lot of man-to-man, and it's working for you, and then once somebody makes an adjustment, you don't make an adjustment. They're doing the bunches, making your guys play off man, and then they're running these out routes. He's running these zone read passes. It's like, hey, Quinn, like, change it up. Like, one time. Like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep the same. I think the same thing can be said on the offensive side of the ball. They get the ball down to the goal line, and then they get fancy all of a sudden. Then the thing that frustrated me, Sarkisian, he got to go back to college. Tomorrow. You have a high-powered offense, and the plays that you're calling, it's like you see that their defensive line can't be blocked. Lo and behold, you'll run the zone play and get lost and lose about 3 or 4 on the next drive, just because I guess you want to give somebody some stats. At the end of the game, okay, you got Matt Ryan. My thing is, He's only need about 5 yards. He can either, I want to give him an option where he may be able to run or he may be able to throw it. But once you roll out, you don't give him that option. You roll out, he gave him one option. Throw it to Julio and throw it to Julio now on a comeback route that would work in high school. In high school, that would be awesome. Roll out to the boundary, run a comeback route is awesome. But in the NFL, that is not. It's just. I mean, the guy was like, you have to know that it's going to happen. If I'm rolling to you, there's no other place for him to go other than to run the comeback. But you cut half of the field off. You played Madden when they had the little light shine up on the thing and you can't see the other side of the field. It's just all bad for you, man. So my thing was, I was like, listen, you spread them out. You can probably put Julio on the slide and match him up with somebody, or just give him more than one option to throw it to. Give him 5 receivers, and he's 5 yards from the end zone. If he step up in the pocket, he may be able to just simply run it in. But he didn't do that, man. And I think as an offensive coordinator, you don't put your team in a situation like that. Just to go from the team they were last year scoring all their points to the team they were this year, man, you gotta find somebody. Ask Shanahan to send his other self back or something, like a robotic version, clone him or something, because to me it just doesn't make sense with a veteran quarterback and all those weapons. And this is not the first. I mean, the one they did before that, they won it, but they didn't do much on offense. They couldn't, put the ball in the end zone. I mean, it was just play the first play. Throw the jump ball. I get it. That's okay. Throw the jump ball. Do this. And do it just looked like he was just nervous. Like, I know I got to do this. I'm nervous, and he just couldn't do it. Send him back, man.
Yeah, you could,
somewhere.
There's.
How did he even get the job? This what frustrates me. I'm sorry. How did he even get the job? You didn't do nothing in the championship game for Alabama and lost, and then you all of a sudden you gonna get another high-powered offense and be awful too. Like, how many jobs you gotta get this cat, man? Like, how many opportunities does somebody deserve? It just doesn't make sense to me, man.
Tell us how you really feel, DJ.
He awful, man. So, but sometimes when I ain't gonna go that route. But yeah, man, he awful.
All right, we'll leave it there. But yeah, no doubt the Atlanta Falcons offense is really missing Kyle Shanahan, and we were able to see what he was able to do in San Francisco. Got off to a slow start there, but once he got his quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, they win the last 5, and it looks like that's going to be a team to look out for next year. No doubt Atlanta misses Shanahan, and we got Javon, who is out in Philly, commenting that the read pass option helped out Foles a ton, especially in the second half. Getting Alshon involved was a huge
every single play.
Foles. And Foles 23 of 30, 246 yards, no touchdowns, but at the same time 0 interceptions as well. And they're riding the J train, they like to call him, Jay Ajayi, as well. Nothing too fancy, no big plays out of him, but very rarely will you see Jay Ajayi go back. And I think that's all you want, especially for a bigger, stronger running back like that in Jay Ajayi. And again, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Falcons 15-10. Last year's NFC champion winner is out. They is knocked out of the NFL playoffs. And like you said, DJ, all season long it's been a problem for the Atlanta Falcons offense. Got off to a really slow start. Then about mid-season, they started to get their act together, and then when it matters the most in the playoffs. Even last week against LA, they didn't look too impressive. And then yesterday, they had Julio Jones involved. I think he had another 100-yard receiving day, which if you have Julio Jones, you better be targeting him in the playoffs or the Super Bowl. But it just was not enough for the Atlanta Falcons. They're only able to put up 10 points. And credit to the Philadelphia Eagles defense as well. This is a team coming in, number 1 seed in the NFC, and here they are hosting a home playoff game as the underdogs. The Eagles team as a whole should get a lot of credit because
and you give them credit, but what you have to realize is it was 4th and 10. They put Julio in the slot. They did some motions. They got Julio being guarded by the safety, right? Boom, he breaks the safety off, gets the first down catch. Why would you not do that again? why would you not switch up the formations to where I don't have their number one cornerbacks on them, even though they're not, their premier corner that you think is going to guard them, but still, if I can get a safety instead of a corner on you on one possession, why can't I do it again? Or why can't I put you on the inside so if you run a comeback route, well, you have more field to play with. You can go two ways. If I put you on the outside, there's only one way that you really can go. Like it's things like that where you just thinking like, come on, so you should understand this stuff. You have to, because at the last possession, if you're gonna just simply throw a comeback route, you might as well just throw it back shoulder. That's probably one of the most successful plays in the NFL these days. Instead, they throwing jump balls and things just like you gonna get a DB a chance. Just throw it at the back of the DB head. They'll call pass interference, and you'll get 4 more downs probably. It just you have to, as an offensive coordinator, you have to understand. You got to understand football, and I feel like that last drive, just the nerves probably played, and he was like, you know what? He understood it on 4th down, but then when he got back down on 4th down again, he lost it a little bit.
So Eagles, they're moving on. They'll be playing Minnesota next week. And then lastly, we'll touch on this Titans-Patriots game. It was it was to be expected. I mean, the Titans got the first score. They held a very early lead for a very short amount of time, but that was it, man. After that, the New England Patriots came to their senses and ran away with the ball game, 35-14. I mean, I don't really know if there's much more needed to be said about that one. This was totally expected. I would have been shocked if Tennessee somehow came away with this one, but that's not the case. Your boy Marcus Mariota, I thought looked okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's been a rough season for Mariota. I mean, even before the knee injury, and I know he's been playing with that all season long. So hopefully he heals up, and next year he could have a big year, because this was a letdown year for Mariota, despite making a short run in the playoffs.
Well, this is why I think that the coach may not, not gonna say probably he shouldn't come back. Is because you have a Chip Kelly spread style offensive quarterback with 2 horse running backs behind him who he just simply hands the ball off to him. Now, every now and again it works out. He'll hand it off, he'll play action, he'll throw it deep. But his game is predicated on, hey man, listen, he's really good in space. He's really good with up-tempo stuff and stuff like that. And you're not utilizing his talents, man. And I don't think that coach is a guy that's going to utilize his talent. That's why I was always confused. And he had a chance to probably move up a couple of spots to get him when he didn't get him. But it's just like he has a certain style, and you got to have a coach that will use that style. Like, say if he was with Andy Reid, you would just love it. Like, oh man, this is a match made in heaven. Just somebody that's going to get you. The Titans don't get that. They don't understand what they have and how athletic this kid is and what he can do. And even though they made the playoffs, they won a playoff, they shouldn't have won their first playoff game. And this second game showed you why they should have won, because Kansas City, New England would have been a much better matchup. But you knew on defense they weren't going to be able to hold. They couldn't hold Kansas City in the first half. And Kansas City and New England may do some other similar things, formations and motions, and seeing if you had man or zone. Now on offense, I just knew the Titans weren't going to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah, last week it wasn't, and not to take anything away from Tennessee, but they didn't win that game last week. Kansas City just lost that game.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, I guess. You got to give people credit for winning, Good job.
Don't have to, but we will. Let's go ahead and preview these conference championship game matchups, DJ. So we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll start off with the AFC. Jaguars taking on the Patriots. Who would have thought? Who would have thought coming into the year that it would come down to these two teams in the AFC? I hope you're right. I hope Jacksonville wins this one, but until Tom Brady and the New England Patriots prove me wrong, I mean, I'll just go ahead and go with them. Although there's a lot of turmoil and tension coming from New England, it sounds like, with the big three and Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and owner Robert Kraft. I don't know if that affects them or not. Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, Adam Schefter of ESPN is reporting that he'll become the Lions' new head coach. So we'll see. A lot of different distractions going on, but this is the New England Patriots we're talking about, and it seems like just about every year they're here. And I know at some point it has to stop, but I don't know if it's going to stop this year. I think they find out that they find a way to win this one. I'm hoping for a great game. I'm really looking forward to this Jacksonville Jaguars defense taking on Tom Brady and that Patriots offense. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm rolling with the Patriots, though.
Like I said, Jaguars, all the way. They just have the pieces, man. Now, see what they do with Gronk. Do they put a corner on him? I know Barry Church's safety has played, really well, but I think Gronk is going to be too much for him. But it's really like you have to, on defense, you got to communicate. You're going to play man. They're going to do a lot of bunches and motions. Running backs, Jan White, going to be out the backfield. They got Telvin, that was a Smith, right? Yeah. He can run with any running back. Like, they have matchups at every position that, to me, favors Jacksonville. Now, is Bortles going to be able to go clean with it? I think so. I think that running game is just going to be too much for New England. Patricia, who is getting a lot of credit for, I don't even know what. They've been struggling all year. To me, every year they've struggled up until the point of the playoffs, and he's becoming a head coach. I'll base that. I guess he's coached under Belichick for a long time, and he's going to somehow bring that to Detroit, I guess. I don't know. So I think this a little bit too much. New England, to me, doesn't have a premier pass rusher. They got some DBs that, to me, can't really – they can cover, but not as well as what Jacksonville has. And then I think the big thing is just the pressure from the D-line. Fouling those guys, Calais Campbell, those guys are what's going to change the game. Because when Tom Brady has pressure on him, he looked like you and me throwing the ball. Now, when he has a clean pocket, he looks really good. On him when you see guys like when they would lose to the Giants and Strahan and those guys would get pressure. I'm like, you can just tell that how different it is for him. And he turns from Superman back to Clark Kent. So that's what I want to kind of see. Like, how would they play on that defensive line, and will they be able to get after them with Ford, which I think they will. And playing man to man out of it. Allow them to, to hold up and allow those defensive linemen to even have more time to get there. But I think the key is going to be just who's going to go at Gronk. Can they stop him but have a 50-50 matchup with him? Because if you can't go at Gronk, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, and that's a good point, bringing up the New York Giants defenses that he played a couple times in the Super Bowl. Brady, in the Super Bowls that he's won, don't get me wrong, he's played some good defenses, some great defenses, but this Jaguars defense, believe it or not, I think is going to go down in history as one of the all-time greats. I mean, it's really impressive what they've been able to do, and last year Tom Brady played the Atlanta Falcons. They played great defense for one half, but that second half they weren't able to do anything or stop anything. So I will say. Go ahead. The
big thing was with that one half or those 3 quarters was, I think it was Jared or something like that defensive line from the Falcons. They were able to just get pressure, and he just looked bad. Throwing the pick six, throwing incomplete passes. He just couldn't get his feet set, and when you can't get your feet set, it's going to be tough. So I think Calais Campbell coming up the middle, that up in your face pressure that forces you to kind of move back and step out the pocket, and those guys come around the edge. So I think they can do it. It's just a matter of what is Bortles going to do, and not even what is he going to do. What is Marrone going to let him do? Are they going to let him try? You know what I mean? Or are they going to just be really, really conservative? Because I think the Fournette, if he's healthy, it seems like every time he goes down, he tweaks something. So as long as he's healthy, I think they'll be fine. He'll come out and make something happen. But the big thing is going to be halftime adjustments. New England, you're probably playing man on them, shut them down, and all of a sudden now they're going to come back the second half and send James White or one of those guys out the backfield to do some, different things like that. And I think the big thing about all these playoffs games has been, halftime adjustments. What have we done at halftime to adjust it and to make us win this game?
Yeah, no doubt about it. So I'm rolling with the Patriots. You're rolling with Jacksonville, DJ. And for the NFC, we I
have no idea.
We have Minnesota taking on Philadelphia. Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I'll be completely honest. Philadelphia, they earned some of my respect after last night's game, and all season long, I know Minnesota has a great defense, one of the top defenses in the league. But all season long, I just never bought into the Case Keenum led offense of the Minnesota Vikings. And after seeing what they were able to do today, and making that late, and hey, sometimes you need luck on your side, and that's exactly what the Minnesota Vikings have had as of late, especially just tonight in that victory over New Orleans. I was never a believer in that offense, but they took down my favorite, my NFC favorite in New Orleans, and with that, I have to go with the Minnesota Vikings, man. What they've been able to do on really both sides of the ball has been really impressive. I mean, it goes back to a couple years ago when Teddy Bridgewater goes down. They bring in Sam Bradford. He looks like a pretty good quarterback. And then, of course, Sam Bradford goes down like Sam Bradford does every year. And they bring in Case Keenum.
Now.
They have not missed a step. Yeah, that is right. He is active, and he's on their roster now. But Case Keenum's still their guy. Man. And, he's playing some really good football. This does not look like the Case Keenum that we've seen coached under Jeff Fisher last year in Los Angeles with the Rams. This looks like a totally different quarterback, and credit to their offensive coordinator for that. And, they've just been playing some really good football. And, I'm sorry, Philly. I know you guys have had it tough. I mean, Carson Wentz goes down, and everybody's counting you guys out even after a victory over Atlanta. But I'm going to count Philadelphia out once again. I don't think they make it past the NFC Championship game. I'm rolling with Minnesota.
I'm gonna go Minnesota, and the reason I'm gonna go with Minnesota, I think they have a better combination of play. They have, a bigger running back than the smaller McKinney. Also is a speed guy. He can get it. They got a really good tight end. They got Diggs. I forgot the other kid name. 19, a receiver. Yeah, and he's a really good story.
Oh, yeah.
So they have, a mixture of things. I think their line, blocks really well. And the Eagles have a, really good line also. But I think it boils down to the defense. I think Nick Foles is in a position to try not to lose it. And Case Keenum in a situation where their coach believes that he can win it. And when you play against Minnesota, and when they watch the film, what they're going to watch is you do that zone read, that run pass option, and they're going to show that the cornerback was playing off man the whole time. They're going to see that. So what's going to happen is Minnesota is going to switch their defense up. Sometimes they're going to play 2. Sometimes they're going to play 1. And when you disguise it, would Nick Foles know when to throw it and when to hand it off? And I think it's just going to be tough. The Minnesota's defense, I think they have guys at every level. From D-line to linebackers, corner, and probably the best in football right now. So I think their defense is going to be too much, and they're too good of a defense and too good of defensive coach to allow you literally to do the zone pass option for a whole game. Something that you can do, and something that you're good. They're going to take that away, man. You're not going to do what you're really good at and beat us. I don't think they're going to allow them to do it, and I don't think their receivers are fast enough to get past him. I mean, I played with Alshon. He can catch balls in traffic and do a lot of stuff, but speed is not one of those things.
No, it is not. No, it is not. And Bears fans are very familiar with that. And hey, good for Alshon, though. I mean, he went to Philadelphia, joining a winning team, bright future. That is if Carson Wentz could overcome this ACL injury, which we've seen many players do, and we've seen many players not come back so great from those injuries. But Alshon, he goes there on a 1-year deal, and what was it, about a month or 2 or month and a half ago, he signs a 5-year extension to stay in Philadelphia. So we'll see. I mean, that Minnesota team, though, is going to be pretty tough. They're going to be playing in Minnesota, and of course,
they playing in Philly, right?
Or, I'm sorry, yeah, they're playing in Philly, and then
they playing in Philly to go back to Minnesota.
Correct.
So that would be something, man.
Yeah, the home
playing
game,
for a home game.
Oh, that would be. I would love to see that. That would be really, really cool. I mean, I gotta think. I mean, that place would be packed with Minnesota Vikings fans. And anyways, we're both rolling with the Minnesota Vikings. They just had a very impressive victory again with luck on their side. Case Keenum connects with Stephon Diggs for a 61-yard touchdown as time expires. Now let's talk about that quarterback situation there in Minnesota. DJ, I mean, do they keep
the greatest situation? It's the greatest situation in football to have a guy, and then not only to have another guy, but you got another guy. So with Keenum, if you want to keep him, you can trade away the other two guys and probably get back some talent for him. I mean, it's just. Now, my only thing is, if the offensive coordinator leaves and gets another job, try to franchise Keenum, or will they let him go? Because if I'm Case Keenum, I'm going with the offensive coordinator who believes in me, who made me look really good. Now, if I'm the Vikings, I'm like, well, if the offensive coordinator leaves, will he go back and look like poop again? You know what I mean? Like. So you got to think about it from both point of views. Like, man, like kind of like what we were talking about with Atlanta was it the Atlanta's offense or what is the offensive coordinator? And to me, it looked like the offensive coordinators had a way to put things together. And with the Vikings, they found something in Case Keenum. Even though he to me, if you watched him, even with the Rams and stuff like that, he's played well when he's got in the game. But I just think he's with a more stable team, with a stable, offensive line, with stable receivers and running backs that work well for him. And what we got to realize, even with the Vikings, that that rookie running back was hurt, and he would have been, he was going to be awesome as well. So I mean, I think when a guy does this well, though, you have to retain him. But what's really good is you got a couple other quarterbacks where other teams need them. They need quarterbacks. Say, hey, listen, what you gonna give me? You know what I mean? Like, I need a pass rush. I need this. I need. You trade up, trade down. You can do whatever you want to do. So I think Minnesota's in a very good situation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which direction they go. I mean, do they decide to sign Keenum to a long-term deal? Do they decide to franchise tag him? Do they decide to just move on from him if Pat Shurmur does land a job? It sounds like he could land the Arizona Cardinals head coaching gig. Do they decide to just, let him?
They need a quarterback.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
See?
Carson Palmer,
Keenum on his way, man.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Bring him on.
And then after that, I mean, do they roll with Sam Bradford? Just having him go down with another injury, which I mean, it's been the story of his career. And of course, Teddy Bridgewater, we don't know exactly how he'll bounce back from that knee injury he suffered, but he's back and he's healthy and he's ready to go. Before he got hurt, all signs were pointing to him having a really big breakout season with this team. And got to think that it hurts a little bit to see these other guys, Sam Bradford and Case Keenum, have so much success at that same position that you were supposed to be for Teddy Bridgewater. But a lot of interesting notes and nuggets for the Minnesota Vikings. So we're predicting a Minnesota Vikings and New England Patriots Super Bowl. You'll be with the Vikings and Jaguars. That'll be a hell of a Super Bowl. I don't think anybody predicted that one. Vikings and Jaguars to start the season.
Nope. Well, I don't think nobody predicted these.
Right.
I'm sure nobody predicted these. At the beginning of the season, you're always going to go, quarterback. The reason that I picked the Saints and the Falcons was quarterback. You fall in love with, man, you got experience, you got the quarterback, and you think they should win the game. Even though both of those teams had a chance, you just go with the quarterback. And, well, guess what? Went with the quarterback, and not this time around.
No, not this time at all. So it'll be interesting. Be interesting to say the least. I mean, it was a very fun weekend for playoff football. And now let's focus on the team that hasn't been in the playoffs for quite a while. They've been in it once in the past 11 years, DJ, and that is the Chicago Bears, the hometown team. We broke down on
They in the playoffs?
have not been. I don't even know if they. It's 10 of the past 11 years they've not been in the playoffs.
Wow.
It's been a while for the Chicago Bears. Last time they were in the playoffs, you're still suiting up for them in that number 30 jersey behind you. But they've been making some news lately. Obviously, they got rid of John Fox, and then we did a special show talking about the new head coach, Matt Nagy, the offense coordinator from Kansas City, and he's really starting to. I'm really impressed with the staff he's put together. We'll start off with offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich, the former Oregon Ducks head coach who coached Marcus Mariota quite a bit at Oregon, was the head coach of the team when they went to the national championship game to take on Jameis Winston in Florida State. Is
there a previous relationship between those two?
Not that I know.
Because to me, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, I guess, to me. If that makes sense to you. Like, I mean, when you don't have, a previous relationship, he's coming from, a college style situation where it's up tempo, everything. And he's the offensive coach. So I don't, like, will they run that style? Because he is an AFL guy, so he's probably used to that spread, go fast offense. So you know what? He may be putting something tricky together, man. Who knows, man?
I'm expecting it. Now, Nagy, again, he did say he's going to be the offensive play caller, so that won't be Mark Helfrich's job. But and of course, I'm not comparing Mariota to Trubisky or vice versa. But he did work with a very athletic quarterback in Marcus Mariota at Oregon and had a lot of success there. Now he comes to Chicago with another pretty athletic young quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky, but it's a totally different game going from the college to the pros. You're not going to be able to run the same offense you do there and have it work out here. We've seen how that worked out with Chip Kelly, another former Oregon coach. So Mark Helfrich, new offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, and another coach hired to the offensive side of the ball. They hired wide receivers coach Mike Furrey, former Detroit Lions wide receiver. He was coaching a small Division II school, Limestone College. You're probably familiar with Limestone. It's in one of the Carolinas. I want to say South Carolina.
No. It's down here. It's probably about place maybe like 20 minutes. I think it's in Gaffney, South Carolina. So it's right down the road, man. Congratulations on the upgrade.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. Well, it seems like and it seems like it's people he know at some point came across and played who was good to him, and he was like, "Hey, listen, when I get my gig, you're the guy." Because that's the only thing I can think about. You know what I mean? So, but I think it all boils down to him as the head coach and him as the play caller. And to me, in some sense, the offensive coordinator, because when you struggle, what's gonna happen? Oh, I'm gonna get a play call to this guy. You know what I mean? Like it happened with him.
Right.
You know what I mean in Kansas City. So how those two work together is going to be, a telltale sign of how this team does, because you got, Van Gil back. So you expect the defense to be the same, and now we just want to see offense.
Yeah, we want to see winning football here in Chicago, no doubt about it. And they bring in Harry Hiestand. He is a former he was coaching the offensive line over at Notre Dame, who has a couple prospects on the offensive line entering this year's draft. So it'll be interesting to see if the Bears address the need on offensive line if they go with one of his former players from Notre Dame. And then even before that, he was on Lovie Smith's staff for a little while. Harry Hiestand was, I believe, the year they went to the Super Bowl back in 2006, coaching guys like Olin Kreutz, Chris Williams, and so on and so forth. So that seemed to be a really big home run hire. Bringing in Harry Hiestand to coach the offensive line. It sounds like he had the choice between a couple of different organizations, and something with this connection with Matt Nagy, the new head coach of the Bears. He decided to come on back to Chicago. And then, as you mentioned, DJ, they were able to retain Vic Fangio. The decision was looming for quite a few days. It sounded like there's some interest in the Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator James Bettcher as well, but they decided to bring back Vic Fangio on a 3-year deal. I know that made a lot of Bears fans really happy. I was pretty happy about that news and seeing what he's been able to do and turn this defense around. And now bring him back and give him some more pieces to work with. And this was a top 10 defense last year. I believe it was ranked number 10 exactly. With the pieces, there's a lot of a rookie safety. Kyle Fuller had a really big year. A lot of new pieces in this defense as well. So I'm interested to see how a lot of these guys returning to the Bears defense for another year and to see exactly if that could elevate their level of play and maybe turn into closer to a top 5 defense under Fangio.
Yeah, and Fangio, it was well played by him. I mean, he made everybody seem like, yeah, I'm going, and once you rev up that a lot of interest for yourself, now when you come to the negotiating table, it's like, man, I got a lot of places to go. If you want me, you got to show me, the money. He's proven, like you said, a top 10. A top 10 defense last year, and hopefully with some guys coming back at cornerback and things like that they can, it can keep that going. So I think the sky's the limit, not only for this defense, but, for this team going forward next year.
Yeah, it's at first I think a lot of the reaction was not very positive out of Bears fans. Matt Nagy, who the hell is this guy? Blah, blah, blah.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
And then here he is starting to bring in a pretty experienced coaching staff, minus the offense coordinator and Mark Helfrich. We'll see exactly what type of role he has with the offense. But, you bring in one of the top guys coaching the offensive line. You bring back Vic Fangio. You bring in the Browns special teams coach, Chris Tabor, from an 0-16 team. But I guess he's highly respected. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've watched the Browns special teams, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of coach he is.
He is awesome.
Is he?
He was with, I think he was with Chicago once. He was under Dave Toll.
Yeah,
when he first got to the Browns, he's always had, because he had Cribbs and those guys. And I think it was the Benjamin kid. So he's always had a really good special teams. This is just a first-hand experience. He's a very good special teams coach. A lot of energy, a lot of respect, especially with Tariq Cohen. Their special teams will be really good.
Okay, all right, good to hear. I sure didn't know anything, and you did. So a first-hand experience, like you said, good to hear. And again, it's a pretty exciting time for the Chicago Bears. It's a new era of Chicago Bears football, and hopefully this is the staff that gets it done. This is the staff that brings them back into the playoffs because it's been too long, DJ.
It has been too long, but you got a Minnesota Viking team who returns, and then Aaron Rodgers whenever he's healthy and able to stay healthy. You got a Detroit team who you just don't know sometimes, but they always play the Bears really, really well home and away. And there's going to be around 500, so you're going to be battling probably, against 2 other teams that are probably going to make the playoffs. Out of your division, so it's going to be, really, really tough. So, if they're going to do anything, they're going to have to do it now, especially when you have a defense that can kind of at least hold, these other teams, all the other teams' quarterback, Case Keenum, Matt Stafford, and Rodgers at bay for going to have to not only pick up, but pick up a lot.
It's still very early on in the process, DJ, but where do you think they should go in the draft? What position do you think they should look at early in the 2018 draft?
If there's a receiver, I think you go for him, because right now you don't. And I don't watch many games, but I just don't. I don't know any of the receivers now. I think it was Kevin White, the young kid that got drafted early. He's been hurt a lot. You have to have a dynamic receiver, and it's almost you can't miss on receiver. Every time you see a kid doing well because of the rule change, you can't beat up on him too much. You can't hold him. You can't grab him. You can't hit him out 5 yards. I mean, you just got it's like 7-on-7. So a lot of these kids are coming in and doing really, really well. Can you hit a home run, at the receiver position? Because you already have, a dynamic running back who's rushing. What he had, like over 1,300 yards this year, or something like that. I mean, you're going to have some playmakers, and can you find Tariq Hill? I know, Cohen is that type of player, but can you find that guy that can really, really stretch the field for the offense that you need? Now, also, you need offensive linemen. We seen it in Dallas when they finally, tuned up and said, "Hey, we're gonna go offensive lineman." They changed their game around. So if he's your franchise quarterback, can you get linemen in the draft and then a free agency, maybe get a receiver, or you may have the receiver, on your roster, and the quarterback just may not have enough time. But probably the most important thing is to protect the quarterback, which you always love to see a nice receiver running down the field, man, with the ball, kind of like a Johnny Knox type guy. Because when they drafted Johnny Knox, he was a difference maker. Now, unfortunately, he got hurt. But if you can get one of those guys, even later late in the draft, you can find those speedsters type guys. Because Knox came from Abilene Christian, essentially out of nowhere, and he was something special to see. But I would say probably go lineman first. And then probably later on go some receiver. But they need some more skilled players, man.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Obviously, a lot was expected out of not so much Kevin White, the former first-round pick, but Cameron Meredith, the former undrafted free agent that really burst out to the scene towards the end of last season. He tears his ACL third preseason game against Tennessee, and hopefully come back. I mean, I don't know if he's a true number one receiver, but he could be a really nice third option, third receiver on a decent football team. But like you said, I mean, I think I'm leaning towards offensive line, and that's going to be interesting because the new Bears offensive line coach Harry Hiestand, again coming from Notre Dame. Notre Dame has two guys that are projected to go in the first round. Matt McGlinchey and Quentin Jones, I think his name is. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see if maybe those guys are reunited with, or one of those guys are reunited with the offensive line coach here in Chicago. Obviously, the offensive and defensive line, the two most important groups, I would say, in football. You gotta protect the quarterback. You gotta get pressure on the quarterback.
Yep.
So we'll see if maybe they go pass rusher as well. I mean, Pernell McPhee, he's been a disappointment here in Chicago. You got Leonard Floyd, but he's suffered a couple injuries throughout his first 2 years here in Chicago. Akeem Hicks in the middle, that's nice, but you got to get the edge rushers as well. So, and then when it comes to receiver, man, I don't know if I want to see Ryan Pace draft a receiver in the first round ever again with the disappointment of Kevin White. Again, it's not his fault. He suffered injuries. It's very unfortunate, but I think really the name I'm hearing a lot about is Calvin Ridley, the receiver from Alabama, and he's going to be 24 by the time he takes his first NFL snap. So I don't know if that's something that teams are going to shy away from or not. But I love the NFL draft season, so it's going to be a topic of conversation that's going to be brought up quite a lot here on the show, DJ, and it's almost time with we have the conference championship games being played next week. We'll have the Pro Bowl and then the Super Bowl, and then after that, it's the focus is all on the 2018 NFL draft prospects when it comes to football. DJ, any last topics you want to touch on?
Well, not really. I want to ask you a question. Did Tavon Austin get hurt this year?
No, I don't think so. He didn't get hurt. They just didn't use him too much.
Listen, if I'm Matt Nagy, like he is him and Tyreek Hill are like almost identical in a sense. And I think if somebody can find a way to use him, like you got to search around the league and say, man, listen, can I fit him into this puzzle, that I'm making? Because if you can, man, that's like he was one of those players that kind of surprised me because coming out it's like, man, he's gonna be awesome. But then every now and again you see it, and every now and again you really don't. But I would love to see somebody like that, a speedster like that, man, in the Bears jersey, running through that offense, kind of like Tariq Hill did it.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I actually really like that comparison between Tavon Austin and Tyreek Hill. I think that's really interesting. And of course the Rams. I mean, again, he wasn't used very often this year. Wasn't a big impact player on that offense, but the Rams did sign him, I think, just a year ago to a long extension. I think for 4 or 5 years. So if you're gonna get him, I don't think you're gonna trade with that contract. I think you're gonna. And there has been some reports or some stories on the Rams could possibly be looking to release him. Of course, Sammy Watkins, he's going to be a free agent. We'll see if he gets re-signed. He said he'll love to come back to LA and play for the Rams. So there's going to be some names out there that the Bears are going to look at, and I think they're going to have to address it both in free agency and the draft. And one last thing, I think a guy that the Bears could be looking at is, and by no means is he a number one receiver, but he's had a couple of decent years in Kansas City. Albert Wilson, a wide receiver that is going to be a free agent this year that I think Matt Nagy seems to really like. Again, not a number one receiver, but a number 3, number 4, very reliable hands and some. I mean, he's a burner as well. He has some really nice speed, and of course the special teams aspect to it as well. So I think that could be a name to look for when it comes to Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I watched a couple of Kansas City games, and he always pops on the scene, always making plays and running after the catch. And I was wondering, like, man, who is this kid making all these plays? But you got to think, this is guys that he's dependent on and called plays for. So, if anything, man, he probably got his cell phone like, Coach, what's up? Come get me, man. You know what I mean? So it's probably one of those situations. And to have a guy, especially in your slot, that understands your offense. That understands when a guy blitzes, where do I need to go? That understands why, if we run, where do I need to block? And you ain't got to teach them. And he can be the veteran guy that comes in and help other guys run the offense. I think that makes sense, man. You get a little bit smarter every year, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. But yeah, again, I mean, a lot of fans. There's I think there's some reason to be excited with the Bears. I mean, it's an unproven coach. It's something new. And again, it's an offensive guy. We know how it worked out last time with an offensive guy, but at least this time around, he's able to keep Vic Fangio to control the defense, and he's not going to stick his nose in anything he doesn't know about. I would hope, and hopefully he could turn things around with this offense. And again, I mean, Ryan Pace, he's attached to himself to, one, trading up and drafting a quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky, and now number 2, the head coach Matt Nagy. And now it's time for the Bears to produce.
Well, and my thing is, and you normally give people time, and I think I made an argument probably last show, like give them some time, but really though, when you see a Doug Marrone go from 3-13 to AFC Championship game, you see a McVay to go from where he went to where he is now. You see, Doug Peterson, this NFC Championship game, and they wasn't that good last year. I mean, you see teams turn it around that have what you have. They have a really good defense. They have a young athletic quarterback. So all we need for you is to do is, so if the expectations are high for Bears fans, I understand it, because mine are high simply because you've seen other guys do it.
Yeah.
It's just like this year, like it's probably like 4 or 5 of them, it seemed like. It's like, where do these teams come from?
Well, yeah.
So it's your turn to make something happen and do it. And even when Andy Reid went to Kansas City, he turned that thing around really fast. So if you under that Andy Reid tree, like these coaches that came from under his tree, they've been doing really. Now it's opposite of Belichick. Under Belichick's tree, they do awful. Yeah. But under Reid, the Reid coaching tree does pretty well. And you were, literally in 2008, you were the offensive coordinator at the high school. Man, listen, I want to see something. When you can go from high school to 2008 to head coach of the Bears 2018, you got to be a guru.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we see it every year. Every year, teams go worst to first. And again, this year, 8 teams that were not in the playoffs last year were in it this year. And here we have it. The final 4 teams. You have Tom Brady, great quarterback, and then you have Case Keenum, Nick Foles, and Blake Bortles. So you
didn't have to lower your voice when you said their names. Like, disrespect is at an all-time high. Like, Tom Brady, Bortles. Those dudes. Goodness, man. That almost hurt my feelings a little bit. Come
Hey,
on now.
hey, but you know let's see if let's see how we'll be talking. Let's see how we mention Trubisky's name come next year. Will it be in that high pitched voice or will it be in a more disappointed voice? I don't know.
Who knows, man? So next year, and my pick next year from the team that's probably gonna go from worst to first is probably the Raiders for me.
Yeah, it was a
I
disappointing
think they
year.
have the pieces though. They have the quarterback and they got the skill position player. So, and Bears could be one of those teams, but for me, I think the Raiders are one of those teams you'll see in the playoffs next year that probably wasn't. Well, it wasn't in this year.
Yeah, I'm going Cleveland, man. I'm liking the Browns.
Okay.
No,
Hey,
no,
listen.
no. I'm kidding, man.
Ain't
I'm
no
kidding.
telling, man. You don't be surprised when it happens. If it happened, don't be on here talking about I told you. Like, nah, you was just being sarcastic,
Hey,
fella.
hey, the Browns lost Chris Tabor, man. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Man, listen, he truly is a really good coach. I mean, I understand you saying that they're
No,
0
I
and
believe it.
16,
I
but
believe it.
because I know when he first got, he been there for a little while now. I think ever since I was like maybe my second or third year in Chicago, I think he left to go down there. So he's been, really good special teams coach. So I mean, you just don't get guys from 0 and 16 team unless they are really good coaches. I mean, seriously though,
You're right
what he
about that.
does, man, what he does.
All right, well, hey DJ, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. A lot of good NFL conversation and some crazy, crazy games played this weekend and next week.
Touchdown, he missed the tackle.
Man,
Goodness
a
gracious.
complete whiff by the New Orleans Saints rookie defensive back Marcus Williams, and that
Well, if
leads
he
to
moved
a
out of the way.
that
God.
leads to a 61-yard Stephon Diggs touchdown. His time expires. Next week we have the New Orleans. Sorry, Saints fans, we do not have the New Orleans Saints next week,
Mm-mm.
but we do have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Philadelphia, and then we'll have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to New England to take on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the championship, conference championship games, and then after that we got the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl. DJ, any final words?
No, man. Have a good night. Martin Luther King Day tomorrow, man.
Yeah.
So everybody join hands and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, yeah, hey, absolutely. Hey, I'll actually be flying out to a place that you stayed at for a little bit in your career, Tampa Bay, to cover the East-West Shrine game later on in the week. Any spots I need to hit up out there?
Is this like a PG-13 thing, or is it just like I don't do it anymore. I always been like a strip club guy myself, but it seemed like it was one on every corner. So I guess you can go any of them. I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't do much. I went down there for about cut about
Yeah,
about 2 months or so. So I'm sure they got a lot of. Let's eat some food. Maybe one of them little, them little Brazil places where you flip the thing over and you eat so much meat you feel like your skin is starting to melt off you or something. So it's always that type of stuff. So I didn't know you was big time like that, flying everywhere, man. My bad.
hey, you got to recognize, man. Better
Hey,
recognize.
man, I apologize, man. She.
Looking forward to that, though. And with that said, that'll wrap up tonight's show. We'll be back at it again next Sunday, same time, same place. Until next time, though, thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Schanfeld for DJ Moore. Again, thanks for tuning to the Chris and DJ Sports Show and lots of great NFL talk. Be sure to follow on Twitter at Chris Schanfeld and at DJ Moore. And again, until
Dirty.
next week.
Holla.